First up, I'd like to thank the team from the Festival of Bharat for inviting me over. I'm going to be talking to you about something allegedly controversial, which is the decriminalization of homosexuality by the Supreme Court of India. Now, I say allegedly controversial because allegedly our country is a bastion of severe homophobia. Now, let me give you case point number one, me. I'm an atheist. I'm gay. I work in defense. I work in foreign policy, which is all the mardangi wale kaam, mardon ke mard isme kaam karte hain. And I'm quite literally mardon ka mard. But anyway. And I've never faced this in my life. Now, you might say, well, Abhijit, here's the problem. This is anecdotal evidence. You're one person is not a data point. So I ask you this, show me the statistics on persecution of gay people in India. And what you'll find is two bizarre studies which take up random episodes here and there, which can't even be classified, many of the things in them can't even be classified as homosexuality, and claim that this forms a pattern. Now, why is this dangerous? This is dangerous because this is the same studies, this is the same kind of methodology that Christian fundamentalist organizations in America used to prove that the overwhelming, there is an overwhelming probability that homosexuals are also pedophiles. And this is the kind of studies that we are apparently meant to take seriously in decriminalizing homosexuality in this country. Now, why do I say these are alleged homophobic crimes? I'm going to talk you through two scenarios that you hear most commonly, and I'm going to get you to cogitate on if it constitutes homophobia or not. The first is marriage. The most common example of alleged homophobia in this country is you'll hear, oh, my friend, he's so miserable. He wanted to marry his boyfriend, and his parents said, no, you're going to marry this lovely girl that we've chosen for you. And he married her. Now, here's the point. Why did he marry her? Right. What did they threaten to do to him? Oh, they threatened to cut him out of the will. So, excuse me, just because you want your inheritance of whatever crores a few house in South Delhi or whatever, you decide to ruin a girl's life by marrying her, but apparently it's societal systemic homophobia. Sure, okay. Now, if you agree that's homophobia, then I don't think I can have a conversation with you, but if you think that isn't homophobia, then let me take this onto a parallel example. So, assume straight guy gets married with this girl that your mother absolutely does not like. She puts her foot down and she says, very dramatically, like one of those Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi serials, that if you marry this girl, you will find me hanging from the ceiling fan tomorrow morning. And so you very reluctantly, so altruistically, because you love your mommy so much, you decide to dump your girlfriend and marry another girl. Is that heterophobia? Are we a heterophobic country? Because you'll keep seeing this happen every single day in newspapers and things like that. So I assume that heterosexuals need to be emancipated in this country because we're a deeply heterosexual country then. Okay, so that doesn't work. Then let's go on to a second example. Today in the papers, you'll read a story about, a very touching story, about an activist who used to work on sexual awareness issues, I think in Bhopal it was, and he was crying when this verdict was read out. Why? Because the police arrested him, they beat him up before his arrest, they pointed to him and said, "Tum homosex kar rahe ho," because he was running an NGO that worked with sex workers and so on and so forth. Now, ask yourself this. How many times when driving in Delhi, and I can totally agree that Delhi is a bit of a high society bubble in that case, how often have you been stopped by a cop for not having your insurance, your RC card or something out of date, and just harassed for no reason other than to extort a bribe? We have to understand this is a third world country. What is the characteristic definition of a third world country? That you do not invest in human capital, you do not invest in human beings, therefore you do not invest in your police. They are not trained properly, there is not much accountability on the organs of the state, and they tend as usual, to make ends meet, because the policeman or woman also has to go home and feed kids, they will come and do something to extort. They need to make ends meet. Now, you will be persecuted for anything at that point of time. If he comes and sees that your something else in your car isn't in order, he will also lodge a case against you for that. Why? Because it increases the value of his bribe. Now ask yourself this: was he arrested? Was he beaten up for being gay? Unfortunately here, you simply cannot prove causation. And this is what worries me, that it is the same humanities professors, all these leading leftist luminaries will tell you, correlation isn't causation, you people don't understand causation, that will then simply agree to the fact that, oh, he was arrested because he was gay. Now here's the point. Under the law, you have to prove the act of carnal intercourse. There was no act of carnal intercourse proven out here. What was this poor man's fault? He couldn't turn around and say, "Janta nahi sale, tu mera baap kaun hai." In Delhi, of course, the cops fall for that line because here everybody's related to somebody. But clearly in Bhopal, you're not related to somebody. So it's very easy for them to cart you off to jail and say, and this guy clearly wasn't used to lying, so he couldn't say, yes, my dad is the Bhopal chief minister's chief secretary's father-in-law or something like that. And so, well, this happens. This is the misery of a lot of poor India that we tend to ignore, or we try to hijack it. Because this whole thing of LGBTQ, who are we talking about here? Lesbians? Are they persecuted? Very badly persecuted. In fact, if you look at the gay community here, the visibility of lesbians in the gay community in Delhi is virtually non-existent. Gay people, much more open. You see a lot of gay people around and so on and so forth. About lesbians, you've only had one movie. There was that Meera Nair movie, I think, about them, which I didn't think dealt with it very well, but whatever. LGB, bisexual people, really, I mean, how many cases of anti-bisexual crime have you heard in this country? But here's the point. Transgender people are the most horrifically persecuted community in this country. They weren't even recognized as human beings. I mean, they're basically on par with dogs. And you, who have basically never been raped by the police, beaten up by the police, extorted to the extent a transgender person is by the police, want to claim an equal level of victimhood with a transgender person. Are you kidding me? I mean, seriously. Now, this is what irritates me then, that when you have this kind of false equivalence posited, you then also have this false equivalence posited with persecution in the West. We are persecuted in India the way we used to be persecuted. Well, guess what? Till the last century, Britain was executing people for being gay. Just go to Wikipedia if nothing else and check what was the last hanging in Britain. It was sometime in the 1800s where a gay guy got caught in the abominable act of buggery and was hanged. Him and his lover were hanged at that point. Has anyone been hanged in India? No. That doesn't mean there isn't homophobia. There is certain levels of homophobia here, but definitely not of the kind you face. Or, worse still, you go to the gay pride. I have never been to gay pride, and I'm proud that I have never been to gay pride in Delhi, because I will never go to gay pride in Delhi, because I don't like the company of losers. But anyway, you go to gay pride in Delhi, you will say, free Kashmir, free Palestine. Okay. Now, you've been seeing ISIS flags come up in Palestine and ISIS flags come up in Kashmir, and they, of course, believe in liberating gay people. They liberate them from their lives just throwing them off rooftops, you see. And apparently, the homophobia we face in India is just like that. They would like to be thrown off rooftops. They don't like people sniggering at them when they hold hands together. We would prefer that our dignity be respected and we get thrown off rooftops instead, because that is the kind of persecution we face in this country, you see. So, persecution doesn't work, but you have to posit this, see, because a lot of the joy of a fight, if you want to call it that, is this hero narrative you build up for yourself, you know. I was facing such enormous odds. It was 100,000 men that I faced down, 300, Sparta. It's that same Sparta mentality that you need when you go into battle. I understand that, but hello, this isn't a movie. This is real life. Deal with it properly.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. धन्यवाद, नमस्कार.